Hey guys, welcome back to Making Everyday Magic. My name is Shanna, and if you are new here, we are a homeschooling family of 4 who has just entered our 7th year of homeschooling. And today I wanted to come here and share with you something that it just kind of recently dawned on me that I do. And I think it's actually like articulating it and sharing it with you could be really helpful. So today I wanted to come here and I wanted to chat through with you that making something relatable makes it real. Guys, before we go any further, please scroll down, hit the big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. As always, you can find me right on down in the comments or over on Instagram at Making Everyday Magic. I try to respond to everything. I really do. I try my best. So anything you want to shoot out to me, those are by far the best places. So, guys, okay. So I have realized that, and this is most prevalent I think with history, but I do this and I do not just to my kids, guys. I am that incredibly obnoxious friend and I know I'm doing it. I can't not share what I know. And I really hope it doesn't come across in like kind of like an a-hole way. But I get really excited about like what I know and I want to share and I want to like let you know what I know and I want to let you know how this relates to things that I know or how we can make a connection. For me, I personally love that. I love putting like A with B and kind of bridging that gap and showing those connections. And so I realized as a homeschooling parent, especially in history, we will listen to something or hear something and I'm like, ooh, pause, let me fill in this space for you. Ooh, pause, let me fill this in for you. Ooh, pause, let me add context in showing you this picture or this thing. And I want to come here and tell you that you should be doing this too. I find that by taking something that is, because keep in mind that these are all just entirely kind of abstract things. Even myself, right? Like we're talking about certain things. World War II, I don't have a concept of that. Massive spans of time. I'm not even 40 yet. So I don't have a concept really of these kind of, sure, in the abstract I do, but not in something that is tangible. And so I want to encourage you to find touch points that help make things relatable for your kids, because even less so is anything actually, especially like in history, but you're learning about real for them. That's why, for example, science experiments are so awesome, is because it gives them that thing that they can touch, that point that they can make, that reference that they can come back to for themselves. They don't usually have that when it comes to topics like history. And so I know that I get so excited if we're talking about the Statue of Liberty. I can look at my kids and say, you've been there, you've stood there, you've seen that. We're talking about the Eiffel Tower, you've been there, you've stood there, you've seen that. And I'm not saying that it needs to be as grand as that. Not everybody's going to have those opportunities. So it's not always going to be some of the things that I've been able to fall back on. It's like when we were learning about Napoleon. You've been to the Louvre, you've stood in Napoleon's apartment. When we're talking about Hitler, you've been and stood in the exact same spot next to the exact same statue that Hitler stood next to. Whenever they were trying to ferry the artwork out of the Louvre, I'm able to show the kids, do you remember our trip? Yes, all of the hallways are full of amazing things. Here's a picture of what it looked like when they emptied the Louvre to protect the art from Hitler. When I'm talking to my kids about DC, and I'm able to tell them, we've been there. You've been to the place where Martin Luther King Jr. stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, and you've been to the place where Kennedy was shot from. You've been to the theater where Abraham Lincoln sat and was assassinated. For me, I love being able to make those touch points for my kid. Again, I recognize that not everybody's going to have that kind of luxury or privilege to do it in such a manner as these instances show. However, there are other ways that you can do this. So I realized we were listening to history and people were talking, we're right at Martin Luther King Jr. for our US history studies with the history of the US, the audiobooks in the car. And we're right at Martin Luther King Jr. And I told the kids, I was like, you know, I recently came across, I think on social media, an interview that Samuel L. Jackson did about knowing MLK Jr. because he was one of the pallbearers at his funeral. And so for them, they don't really know who Samuel L. Jackson is, but they know who Nick Fury is. So if Nick Fury can tell them something about that, that makes it more relatable. They have just a little bit more of that. It's knitted just slightly tighter and closer to them. It gives them something a little more relatable. If we can talk to my father-in-law and say, where were you when Kennedy was shot? And he can tell you. If we can talk to our grandparents and say, what was it like when we landed on the moon? If I can look my kids in the eye as we're learning about the Korean War and let them know that my grandpa served there. These are the things that help even myself as a grown adult, help make it more real, help make it more relatable. When we're learning about segregation in schools, and it seems like a concept, especially to my kids, that so long ago, it seems like something, even to myself, that would have been so distant in the past to have not really been an issue we have. Schools were segregated when my father-in-law was born. That wasn't that long ago, guys. It's little things like that. When I can let my daughter know that she stood in a wedding service for her uncles at a time when they legally could not marry in this state, that blows her little mind. Because just in the last decade were some of our peoples here, still being denied rights. And not that it hasn't circled back, but that's a topic for a whole other video. So it is something that I realized is such an amazing gift to be able to give to yourselves, to any learner, is to be able to make it relatable because it makes it real. Being able to take something that is so big and so abstract, and frequently with history so sad and so tragic, so great and so amazing, to be able to put that in a concept, in a place, in a time, in a picture in the brains that help make it real. These are the learning things that will stick. These are the little things that will truly stay with you. Being able to build a cell model helps you understand. Being able to look through the microscope and see the small little building blocks that make up all things, that helps you understand. Being able to get out your telescope and look at distant stars or the moon, these things help you understand. You're not going to understand what it's like for an astronaut until I take you over to the Space Center of Houston and stick you in one of those little jump seats and you understand how confined it is and the awkward position they had to sit in. These are the things that I personally absolutely love just about life, especially, but about an education and then about a homeschool education, is that I'm available and I'm eager and excited to make things relatable, to make it real for my children the whole way through. So I just wanted to come and remind you that this is something that's amazing and exciting and we can all learn these touch points together. It's truly an amazing thing to be able to hear your kids say, oh, I've been there, or oh, I know that, or hey, I remember this, or wait, that goes with that. Whenever those little magical brain powers start firing and they can make those connections themselves, you know they've learned. Whether or not they're going to pass it on a test, whether or not it's going to come back later, they've made the connection and it is magic because that's what providing our children with an education is all about, okay? Yes, we want them to pass a test, we want them to get a job, we want them to feed themselves in the future. But that joy of learning, that's really the difference. And as homeschoolers, we have the power to fan those flames so much bigger, so much stronger, and all the time. So, guys, that was it. I don't know why, but it crossed my brain. One of the 1,010 times this week, I paused history to add in a little something else. And I was like, I should talk about this. So, guys, as always, I hope that you found it helpful, entertaining, or informative. If you did, please scroll down, hit the big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. As always, you can find me down in the comments or over on Instagram at Making Everyday Magic. Yes, some of you are looking at me and you're like, Shanna, well, of course, it's obvious, isn't it? Is it? Is it for everybody though? Just in case it wasn't for you, or just in case you never thought to articulate it this way, I hope this video served you well.